Tier 4, Race 1, Bahrain. It's happening, people. I'm pumped. You're pumped. It's a new game. It's the start of a new era. This is the most exciting time of the season where every possible result is on the cards. We don't know who's going to be the quickest at the moment. We don't know who's going to have the edge in these all-important results. We don't know how people are going to react to the tyre pressures or the new handling on this game. It is all up for grabs, and it is the most exciting time of the year. And most of all, I'm excited to have here with me a co-commentator. He stepped in at the last minute. I'm ever so grateful that he can be here with me tonight. It's the one, it's the only, Carl Edens. Carl, how are you doing?
Not too bad for saying I've literally just jumped in last minute and literally had to scramble a load of things just to get ready.
I know. I know you're ready. I know you've got your book at hand. You've got binders full of notes on these drivers and on the track itself. So fingers crossed we'll see some racing here tonight. We've got the first few cars out on track. So let me just get everything set up for our viewers at home. I'll keep the telemetry on for the first few laps, the full track lap there as well. Who's out on our first lap? We've got an Aston Martin. It is the one. It's the only... the smooth operator himself, Johnny Smooth. He's going round on his outlap of this game. So while he goes on this outlap, me and you, Carl, we've had a little time with this new game. How does it feel compared to the last one? You enjoying it?
Considerably enjoying it a bit more. I had absolutely no confidence on the 22 game and just how it felt and everything, but as soon as I played this for the first time, it just feels so much better, and I've got my confidence back. It feels wonderful.
I agree entirely. The last game, there was just something about it. I think maybe it was particular. I found the handling, maybe my setups were wrong, but I always found the handling was on a knife edge. I would lose the car seemingly at random, just lose the back end round corners, and I wouldn't be able to save it. In this game, I can feel when the car's going to go. I get a little bit more traction back. The car felt on rails last night, and I just think we've got some strategy with the tyres. It's so nice to go racing again, but that's all the praise for the new game done. I am going to take us on a lap around this wonderful Bahrain circuit. I'm going to take everything off the screen there, and we'll take you on a lap on that cockpit view with Johnny Smooth as we head into the first lap here at Bahrain. So we are cross the start, finish straight. You'll see that letterbox open at the back, that DRS. And it's a really hard braking zone as we go down into the first corner. Got to hook it in there, hits the apex nice and easy. Be a little bit careful as you go through turns 2 and 3. Can lose the back end if you're not careful. Then it's another DRS zone and you're into turn 4. It's hard on the brakes around about the 100 metre ball. It's all about carrying speed there. Go as wide as you can. You'll see in real life F1 they go very wide there. Then we're into the tight, twisty, technical section of Sector 2. This is very interesting. A lot of tricky corners here, downhill braking, I think, into turn 7. Then you've got 8, 9 and 10, possibly the trickiest corner in the circuit. When it comes to braking, it's downhill, it's at an angle, it's tight. The car will feel going around off camber, it'll feel off balance. And Johnny Smooth's done really well there to get through that. Then you're in another DRS straight. Possible overtaking opportunity here, but not really. I'd say you will be a little bit more patient. Then we're on to these sweeping corners, 11, 12, 13. This one with the curve on the right used to be an absolute disaster. Hit the curve and used to spin around. He's a little bit more forgiving on this game, but Johnny Smooth is giving it a nice sort of vent there. He's not going too hard to the apex, so he's going to make sure that he's doing incredibly well. Now we're on to the final corner. This one is all important. You want to hit the apex, you want to get on the accelerator as quickly as possible, because if you don't, you can lose so much time down the back straight. Johnny Smooth there. Across the line, DRS open, and we've got an opening lap of a 1:30.9. That's a very good opening lap, I'd say. That's getting on to what my first bankers were in Tier 2, so strong showing for the Aston Martin man.
Yeah, I think it's round about the same lap time. I'd probably set in Tier 2 as well for my opening lap.
Yeah, it is. Just look at the difference we've got between P1 and P2 and P3 already. A 2-second gap there. Back Mazo in the McLaren going through with a 1:31, so those times are starting to come down. Let's see if I can go on board with a McLaren. It looks like we've had a retirement already, unfortunately. YT Manu is out. Oh, and I was going on board with another Mercedes there, but he's losing a front wing. He's going to have to be careful. Make sure you get out of the way, mate. He does just at the last minute, so Schofield can come through. Let's see if that's affected his lap time at all. He goes across the line with a 132.2. Good enough for third place. I think improvement can be made a little bit there, but that's nice as a banker lap. So as we see people starting to set their first times in the game, get their first laps under their belt in this first competitive, a lot of the time these first guys will be out in a competitive race. What's your feeling on the Bahrain track in particular? Is it a circuit you look forward to, enjoy, or is it one that you sort of dread in the back of your mind?
Funnily enough, it's not a track I'm fond of, but the weirdest thing is this track brought me my first win in MRC, which is the bizarre thing. It's a track that I'm not fond of, but it's a track I can click at, which is bizarre for me, because usually if it's a track I don't like, I can't click at that track. So I find it alright. I mean, obviously I enjoy the middle sector the most, especially the challenge of the downhill braking for turn 8.
Yeah, I think that is... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Because obviously you're having to judge that braking as well as the gravity of the car going downhill, so you're having to think more about where you're braking for that one, and it's such a tight apex as well. Easy to lose the car on exit.
Yeah, it's one where you have to nail it, and you've got to make sure that your apex speed is perfect to slow down into it. It's a corner I always struggle at, and I'm running ABS. So these guys in Tier 1, these elite drivers who have the ABS off, it's a corner where it's so easy to lock up because you have to learn about trail braking, which is, for those at home, if you don't know what trail braking is, or if you're learning, you're like, Tier 4 is our beginner league, so it could be a term that you're hearing for the first time. So essentially, when you brake, you want to try and brake with all your force to begin with, to try and get the most, but you don't want the brakes to lock up, so you've got to let off them slightly as you go into the corner. Braking hard is fine if it's in a straight line, but if you're turning the car at all, then that's when the car will lock up, or if you apply it, it's under pressure. And through that turn, the car you're always forced to be braking as you're turning, so you have to trail brake, which means that you lift your foot off the brake, apply less pressure, and sort of have to nurse the car through there. It's a skill that it takes a while to learn. It's one that I haven't managed so far, so I have big respect to the Tier 1 guys, or anybody who's be able to master it. And I think, yeah, that turn in particular is one where you need to have it on point. So to have it as the first one on the calendar and to test those skills, I think it's a big one. And yeah, to follow up just about Bahrain in general, I think it's a challenging track. I think people look at it with its 3 long straights and think, oh right, 0-1 wings, it's easy, it's just, that's where I'm going to do all my overtaking. But if you can't hook up that second sector, you're going to be slightly lost, I think, and getting the flow and the feel through Sector 2, I think, is crucial to a good lap time here, and we'll see our fastest drivers really look hooked up through that middle sector.
Yeah, I was watching Danny on his run on the mediums going through the, I think it's the second DRS zone after turn 10. He had to weave through at least 3 cars worth of traffic, but he still managed to put it B2 on those mediums on a 31.1.
That's not bad at all. I mean, yeah, it is somewhere in that middle sector in particular where it is hard to get off the racing line. Remember, if this is your first time in racing for us in Tier 4, or first time racing in competitive leagues, if you're on a slower lap, if you're on an out lap or an in lap, is the courteous thing to get out of the way of other cars who might be quicker than you. You wouldn't want it on your fast lap, would you? So why would you do it to other people? So it's all about respect here at MRC and making sure that everybody gets a clean opportunity to race. I know we've had some very eventful Tier 2 and Tier 3 races. Bahrain's a track where I think it's very wide. It invites overtaking opportunities, and there's a lot of heavy braking in these cars and on this circuit. How have you adjusted to the braking changes in F1 23? Because I feel that's where there's been the most sort of change in the physics engine, apart from the traction model.
I've had to adapt to it fairly, but obviously, as you say, it's completely different, and I have found that I'm adapting quite well to it, to be fair. I was quite anxious about it when I heard all the talks and that, and yeah, just forget it. I think once you find your rhythm, that's when it gets easier.
Yeah, I'd agree. It is all about just it is practice, isn't it? It's making sure that you can adapt on this game. One tip I would give for anybody who's listening in Tier 4 who wants to get a hang of braking or get some tips is that this year in particular there are two things that affect your braking points. One is tyre wear. Now the tyres do tend to last a little bit longer in this game, but as you go longer into the stint you will feel those braking distances lengthen. You'll have to brake earlier. So remember, if you are behind another car or alongside, you'll have to adjust for that. You might feel wrong that you're braking 10, 25 metres earlier, but you're going to have to do it if you want to make the apex of the corner. And more importantly, make sure you don't smash into that car ahead of you. The other thing that's really affecting on this game is that if you go off the racing line at all, onto the grass, onto the gravel, onto a dusty piece of track, your tyres will lose a bit of grip. I think it's about 10%, people have said. It takes a little while before it wears off, before those extra little bits sort of get themselves back into the tyre and it gets back to its full grip again. So I know Tier 4 does have the line on, so people might not be going away from the racing line as much, but just be aware, if you're overtaking somebody and you're on those marbles, it is likely to lengthen your braking distance a little bit as well. So don't be afraid to adjust. I think you could see just on Winky's side, the graphics are really good this year. He went offline a little bit there and his tyres just sort of sparkled up. You could see the little bits of debris on them. That's how you know that you've got the marbles on the track. So you'll just go off track there. I was hoping that if I went on board he'd see it, but unfortunately the graphic where he went off track is just not showing on our screens. Let's see if it shows on the right hand side. It just gets a little bit dusty. You will notice it more with the marbles, but yeah, it is a big impact in this game. Let's see where we are then with qualifying in general. Ashwin up top. We said Johnny Smooth put in a great banker. Ashwin in the Alpha Tauri there with a 129.9. Very speedy in Tier 4. That's good to have a quick banker. We've got quite a spread of times from Ashwin 129 all the way down to Richie in the Williams with a 136. So a lot of time to be made up there. We're starting to get into the crunch time, and I was going to save this bit of trivia for later perhaps, but there's a very odd person who's got the fastest lap around this circuit. Okay, do you know who it is, Carl? I'm going to put your F1 knowledge to the test. It was set in...
If I'm not mistaken, it's somebody you wouldn't think of. It's Pedro de la Rosa, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yes. In the McLaren in 2005. I've had a look. When I found out that fact, I tried to have a look at it on YouTube. It's nowhere to be seen. It's done entirely off camera during the race. If you sort of gave people clues and said, oh, it's a very fast Spaniard racing in 2005, they might say a certain somebody who's still on the grid, not good old Pedro himself. But the fact that that lap still remains this day, I think, is sort of a testament to just how quick those cars were back then. Was that V10 or V12s back in 2005? They certainly had a lot more cylinders.
What was that? 2005, you say?
Yeah.
I think they just made the transition to V8.
V8s. Okay.
Somebody correct me if that, but I think 2005 was the first season they transitioned to V8s.
Well, whatever it is, the straight lined speed of those cars, and if you've ever heard them, like the cars we've got at the moment sound pretty good. Those old F1 cars, please find a lap on YouTube, go on the onboard, turn your speakers up to 11 and just listen. It is a visceral noise, and you'll see why old crumbly boomers like me complain sometimes about the noise that these modern F1 cars make. These hybrids, they sound okay, but it's nothing like the old V8s, V10s used to, as they were tearing around the track. Right, got a yellow in Sector 3 at the moment. I think that's a Haas round. Hopefully that's not going to affect Schofield, who just set a purple Sector 2. Oh no, but he's invalidated, I'm afraid. That's all red, so he's got time to get back on the pits maybe get a fresh set of tyres. Those softs are 3 laps old, so he will want a fresh set of tyres. But as we head in with about 3 minutes to go, this is the business end of qualifying. You want to make sure this is where you turn up for the lap. I'm not quite sure. For me, on Monday night, the track rubbered in a little bit, but I didn't make up that much time. That might just be because I've had a poor first sector. I didn't quite make it up. Do you feel that this game's really rubbering in when you're doing it, that you were able to make up a lot of time on your last qualifying run, Scar?
Well, to be fair, I didn't improve on my opening lap time because I did feel the track was slightly more rubbered in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the thing you got to worry about though is that obviously the track's going to rub it in, but you're going to have more and more marbles offline.
Yes.
So obviously that's what hampered me. I was getting slightly offline on my second lap, so I was getting all the marbles, which was unsettling the tyres and the grip. So I didn't really get to probably see what I could probably do at a latter stage.
Yeah.
Still qualified in the top 10 Monday, which I was quite happy about.
That's excellent. You've got some serious pace this season, mate. Like you said, you've got a good setup from some good friends who've been able to lend it to you, which always helps. But setup can only take you so far, isn't it? It's the skill behind the wheel that gets you where you are in the end. And to get it in the top 10 in Tier 2, a very competitive tier this year, that's no mean feat. Right, I'm going to stick on board with our current pole sitter, Ashwin, in the AlphaTauri. Say what you like about this year's car. Some people have discussed it as not maybe a looker compared to some of the others on the grid. But at the moment, Ashwin doesn't care about looks. It is all about outride speed. He's got 129.9 to beat. He's got a full second in the bank, so he doesn't have to push too hard. Let's see what he can really do. For reference, I think my pole time, Tier 2, on Monday was a 130.00 something. So he's already gone quicker than me. Let's see if he can improve on that time. It's looking very hooked up at the moment. We might have a little bit of traffic there as we go into the sector with Haas in front. Oh, he's just had a little twitch, and that'll be the end of his lap, so I don't think Ashwin will improve. Oh, I'm going to go on board with Back Mesa. Back Mesa's also backed off. Let me see if I go on board with Johnny Smooth. Is he on an out lap, or is that his quick lap? Crosses the line, no improvement. So yeah, maybe now he will be on his quick lap. I'm going to stick with the Aston Martin driver because now it is his to improve on. Look at the space between him and Backmezo in the McLaren, just 0.1 seconds. Tenth of a second is all he has to find on this final lap if he wants to make it into the top echelons of the grid.
I'm just watching Danny making his way around on the mediums, obviously higher tier driver standing in, so obviously he can't qualify on the softs, he can only do it on the mediums.
Yep, but he's certainly not worried about that. McLaren moves out of the way for Johnny Smooth. Fingers crossed that hasn't impeded him too much because he needs this dive. He's not going to have time to do another lap. That time ticking away in the top left-hand corner. You can see it there. Only 15 seconds left of this session, so these are the laps that matter the most. Red Bull goes across the line. No improvement in time. Haas going straight into the pits there. Let's see if this Alpine driver can make any improvement. Let me see. Look at the timing screen on our left. No improvement there. Purple middle sector for Johnny Smooth. That's what he wants to see.
Seems to have gone a bit wide on exit when I just jumped on him as soon as you said he went purple middle.
Yeah, he's really pushing the car. I think he's really testing the limits. Let's see where he'll come across. He will be one of the last to finish in this section. This is across the line, and it's a
1:30.2.
Oh, that's put him up into second, so excellent lap, but it's not going to be enough to beat the pole time from Ashwin there. No, back down to our other AlphaTauri, who's there. We've got another Aston Martin as well. T-Bag, one of the new drivers in our league. Let's say where he can do his first start in T4 up into P11. Very good driving there from the Aston Martin man. We've got one person out on track at the moment. That's Geke Matthew. He is 0.169 seconds up in the Red Bull. Currently sitting 12th. He's able to keep that time. He might be breaking into the top 10. And he might be able even to put it up ahead of Nikolai Lima. Let's see what he can do. As he hairs down this last corner. So important. Such a late apex. And then he's on to the power. Looks very smooth through there, not pushing it too hard, seems to have the car under control and is across the line with a 131.6. Going to keep me in suspense. 7th place for Geke Matthews, so excellent improvement there on his final time.
Leapfrogging his teammates in the process.
He is. So let's take you through our grid for Tier 4 tonight. We've got Ashwin the Frenchman on pole position in the AlphaTauri. There were 129.9. Excellent lap from him. Then it's got Johnny Smooth in second in the Aston. Back Mazo in third. Then we've got all Scottish 4th and 5th with RFC Danny and Scottish Ninja. Speedy Bullet 6th. Geke Matthews 7th. Biff 8th. Womax 9th in the Haas. Schofield 10th in the Alpine. Chelsea also in the Alpine in 11th. Nikolai Lima in the Red Bull 12th. Teabag 13th, Alan in the Ferrari, Winky in the McLaren in 15th, 16th is Smoggy Go, 17th Necromancer, 18th Rishi 76, Jousty 31 did not set a time, as well as YT Mano. So an awful lot to play for in the race. Looking at that setup then, Carl, who's your pick for the race winner tonight?
Well, it's hard to say because obviously, as we know, you can be good at one lap pace, but if you're not consistent in the race, it can all go peep tong. I don't really particularly want to say because I can't really think of anyone, so I'm just going to stay blank on this one.
No, that's absolutely fine. At the moment, I think it is an absolutely stonking lap from our AlphaTauri driver. I think he's new. I don't remember around Ashwin. 0496. Incredible lap from him. Looks very quick. As I said, that was a quicker lap than what I was able to do in Tier 2. Plus, he wasn't able to get his final lap in. We don't know if he could have gone even quicker. Really impressive from Johnny Smooth as well. I thought, getting it into the front row of the grid, he's been with us for a while now. He's, wanting to get the big results. And I think he could be one to watch tonight. Let's just take you through then the tyre choices that people are going to start on tonight. Ashwin and Johnny on the mediums, back Mazo on the softs, and RFC Danny on the hards, and then a good mixture down from there. A lot of drivers considering to start on the softs this year. Last year on F122, that didn't seem to be an option, did it? What tyres did you use? Did you use the soft tyres at all during your race session, and do you think they're a more viable race tyre this game round?
I never touched the soft tyres. I ended up pitting relatively early to probably avoid traffic and get in clean air, because I think it was around about the end of lap 7 I came in for the hard tyres because there was quite a bit of traffic up the road, and obviously we know that the new tyre, when you got the new tyres on this game, the grip is so good, so yeah, it helped out. So yeah, no, never really touched the soft tyre, but I do say it's definitely a decent race tyre if needed.
I'd agree with that. This kind of so I had a test of them. I was doing some sort of experiments just against the AI, just to see what strategy was good. I was forced onto the softs, and the softs went about 8 laps before they really started to feel like I was understeering and having to brake earlier. The one thing I would warn drivers about in this game, the tyres can go an awful lot longer. You're not going to really see a lot of people suffering from punctures, I feel, anyway. If you're getting towards the 60-70% territory, you've gone far too far with them. The problem with this game is also the tyres drop off a lot more, so it's not just you're not losing 0.2 every lap, let's say. What you'll do is you'll lose 0.2 one lap and then 0.4 the next, and then 0.8, and that effect is much more apparent on the softs than it is on a medium or a hard tyre. So just be aware when you start to reach that cliff, keep an eye on your lap times. If you're starting to lose half a second a lap, it might be a time to put on a fresh pair of mediums or hards. As I said, they might go about 8 laps, and the hards probably will go all the way to the end. As you mentioned earlier, you're able to take a pair of hards a very long way in this race. So it is a viable race strategy. Just be aware of how they fall away. There we are, we see the grid. Look at them all form up there, weaving away like a big snake as they try and get those last little bits of heat into their tyres. Where's Ashwin going to line up? Quite an aggressive race start, pointing towards the apex. He doesn't want to be caught out one single bit as we see the last few cars just file into their grid slots. And this is where it starts to get tense. The heart is pounding in the chest as it's time Tier 4 to go racing. We've got 5 lights here. Hold, and it's away. Or I hope it's away. There's a little bit of a glitch at the start. Please go. And now we're away. They've decided to catch up with the lights. And Ashwin has made quite a good start there. Johnny Smooth moving to the outside. Remember to keep it clean, boys, as we head down into the hairpin. Look at there's a big move from the McLaren driver on the softs.
Oh, there's a bit of contact with a Ferrari going absolutely deep into turn 1, clattering another car.
There is Alan, seems to be moving down into 11th place. There's also Necromancer on the softs down in 19th. But we've got our focus on this on the Tier 4 drivers up the front. Ashwin still keeping the lead. Johnny Smooth in second back. Mazo on the softs, having to back out into pit 3. RFC Danny on the hards and Scottish Ninja in 5th. Look at this, they're forming a nice little train, but look at that gap that Ashwin's getting already, over a second by at least. A little twitch there as he goes round turn 7. Got to be very careful. We do have a yellow back there in sector 2. I think it's an Alfa Romeo.
It was Manu. He had a mega start. He was up 9 places from his starting slot, but then he ended up losing the car.
Oh, that's such
in
a
those
shame.
Twisty corners, and now he's back where he started at the back.
Yeah, that's why.
I've got the positions up halfway around the lap. The biggest winner is Alan in the Ferrari, 4 places up, and the biggest loser is Chelsea, going down 5 places, the same as Speedy Bullet, down 5 places from his starting slot as well.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's a big incident in the back there, just missed that, but it might be Winky, and there's a McLaren off in the background in Speedy Bullet. There seems to have been some contact there, but yes, they are all back round and all back on the track. And they seem to go a little bit mad at the back. At the moment, I will keep on board RFC Danny going side by side with back Mazo. This is the first real test of the braking. Look at them side by side, giving just enough room there. But he's going to force his way through. RFC Danny, of course, subbing in tonight on the hard tyres. Our higher tier driver is up into P3.
Got T-Bag trying to line up Alan going down to turn 4, but doesn't quite. He popped his nose out to have a look, but wasn't quite able to get alongside enough. He's on the hard tyres, so doesn't really need to push so hard in these opening laps. He can take his time, because obviously he can go much longer than most of them around him.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of scrapping. You just see an Alfa Romeo in the back just losing. I think that was Scottish Ninja who didn't quite get the traction out of that corner, and that means that that train that had built behind Ashwin stretches out a little bit more. That's what he's going to want to need. Remember, DRS is not available for the first 2 laps, but it will be activated when he goes round this start-finish straight for the first time. He's going to want to be a second ahead. Johnny Smooth is not want to see him a second ahead. He's going to want that DRS and tie that lasso around him and hang on for dear life. Johnny Smooth is doing just enough. At the moment, it's RFC Danny who might have to get a shuffle on. He's in the bad delta. Remember, that DRS will come up soon. Ashwin with the fastest lap should be activated. They may see it after turn 1 this lap. Down the main straight now. Who's got a skinny wing? We've got Geke Matthew and Woomax. Woomax sort of eyeing up Scottish Ninja in front. And we've got this gaggle of drivers from the higher tiers all come together in the middle there, but it is our resident tier 4 drivers who's showing them how it's done up top with Ashwin and Johnny Smooth, the main battlers there. Scottish Ninja and Woomax going side by side almost through turn 4. It's a big overtaking opportunity if you can make it, one of the many available on this track. At the moment, I think all our drivers have kept it pretty clean. No safety cars yet, no big dramas. Goodness me, we could
apart from Speedy Bullet having to pit at the end of that lap, probably for repairs, damage, probably.
Yeah. Shane on board with Schofield here now, looking at this main train that seems to be forming all the way from back Mazo back to Schofield. This will be a big feature of the Bahrain track. These DRS trains form, and it is so hard to get out of them, particularly if you're in the middle. Then it all comes down to how skinny your setup is and if you can use the DRS down the main straight. Now, according to my calculations, it should be available for most of our drivers this lap round. I'm going to go on board with Johnny Smooth, see if he's going to use it at this first given opportunity. across the DRS detection zone. There it is. There's that flap opening, and you can see that time coming down in the left-hand corner. Was 0.8, now down to 0.5. He's going to line up a move, but he is going to be too far behind. Ashram has enough space. I'm going to go back through the pack, then on board with Scottish Ninja, who thought he might have a look, but it's back Mazo in the McLaren who's made that move stick. We're going to see a lot of swapping of positions through here, as there may be a Red Bull. That's Geke Matthew who's come a cropper at the first corner. He's off at turns 2 and 3, having to rejoin now. The yellows are out, but he's found himself all the way back down in 11th. Less than ideal, and that's the Alpine round the back. That's Schofield, who was on the hards. Sort of seemed to spin by himself there, so he was up, and he's lost out again, I'm afraid. So that train that I thought was forming is spreading out a little bit more. And I think we're going to have to go back to RFC Danny to see where our main drivers are. We've got a yellow in Sector 1. That's an Alpha Tauri round. I think it might be the one of Sluggy Ghost, unfortunately, who will return to Resin. Where are the other main battles happening? What are you watching at the moment, Carl?
There's an interesting scrap between the Alpine of Chelsea, the Alfa Romeo of Manu, and obviously Geke, who's dropped back after losing the cars at turns 1 and 2. Obviously wanting to try and get back up there with the use of the softs.
Yeah.
Well, he can.
Seems to have got through there. Ashram with another fastest lap there. They're all herring down. I'm going to stay on board with Scottish Ninja, who is going to have the DRS. And the McLaren in front won't, and he lines up the move. And that's how you want to get these moves done. You want to get it done nice and early. The problem he might have is that ERS is already flashing, and he's not going to have the DRS coming into the second sector. It should be the McLaren stern, but he's under attack from Womack's behind. He's looking very racy, and he's already going to he's going to stick it up the inside in turn 4. Big place. This is where contact can happen. Very careful, and there is contact, unfortunately, between the McLaren and the Haas there. Just seem to trip over one another there. I don't know if enough space was given, or they're just a slight misjudgment. But at least they're all...
Biff took advantage of that, because he took the pair of them whilst they were tripping over each other. He's up 3-5.
Excellent move there, and look at these gaps forming at the top. I said how crucial it was going to be for Johnny Smooth to keep in that 1 second gap. He's no longer in it. RFC Danny has, well, at least a second on Scottish Ninja behind, who's on the medium, so he'll be desperate to make up that time. It's now Biff who might be the cork in the bottle, who will have back Mazo and Womack, who, as we saw, just had that little incident between the two of them. We know they've got the pace to be higher, so maybe they will be very racy. Going to go down to Chelsea and Manu as well. These two can't seem to leave each other alone. They're the ones having a real scrap at the moment, as we've got a Red Bull round. I think that's Geke Matthew. He hasn't had the best of races so far. Couple of incidents where he's been just lost the rear end of the car. That's him down into P13. Let's go on board with Womax, back Mazo and Biff. I think it is up to back Mazo to make the move on the Williams man up ahead, but he just simply doesn't have the gap between them. Those soft tyres, up to 6 laps old, as I said before, they fall off quickly, so they'll be getting worse and worse, and those mediums will just be starting to feel better and better. I think it'll be interesting to see if Biff can start and make a gap between the McLaren driver, or if Back Mazo can just keep up with the man ahead.
Yeah, quite spread out, because obviously you're watching that battle, I'm watching Chelsea and Manu. Apart from that, everyone's quite fairly spread out of DRS range and stuff, so everyone's racing themselves now, and hopefully that will allow them to see where they are consistency wise.
Yeah. It's slightly different rules here.
Geke's round again.
Oh, that's such a shame. He's just seems to be struggling with the car under traction in a few key corners there. As I mentioned, turn 4 is one where you can lose the back end quite easily. Seems to have done that. Womack's up ahead of back Mazo. Excellent place to get the move done there. On board with Chelsea and Manu as well, that Chelsea isn't quite as daring as Womack, so doesn't get that move done. Remember, Womack's tier 2 driver this season, won't be racing with us for a little while. Very handily stepped in at the last minute to take a seat. He seems to be doing Haas proud at the moment. I wonder if he's going to have the run on the Williams man. There's that letterbox open once again. It's got the straight line speed, but are we going to see them go 3 wide into this corner? The McLaren driver's thinking about it. He's weaving behind. He takes the inside line. Biff has to get out of the way to afford space, but Womack has lost it under traction. You saw the twitch of the car there, and he's suddenly gone from a very dominant P5 back into P7. So all that hard work has now been undone, and now it's the McLaren man up the inside of the Williams, sort of hits the curb and then hits the car on the outside. That's going to force him to slow down. So they're all battling for position, all trying to get past, and in the end, Biff, who I thought was going to lose a couple of places, stays exactly where it's are, and it's back Mesa and Womack who do a little shuffle.
Just had to check something that Martin's put in the chat. You were busy talking, so I just put in the YouTube chat. He just asked if Joe Westy is ghosted, and he is at the moment. He is ghosted.
Oh, that's a shame. If might need an invite back into the session if you're able to do that, Carl. That would be lovely to see if he can get back racing again, because it's only a safety car or something that he might need to get back into position. It's back amazing on those softs. He must have made the moves through those tricky turns 11, 12, 13. It's a crazy place to make a move, but he's got it done. Womack again looked like he was all over the back, but remember, if you get a move done there, the problem is that you can't get that second out that you need to avoid the DRS, and it is so powerful down here. Look at what Biff can do at that gap. It was 0.4 down to 0.5, 2.5 as Backmazo moves to defend the inside line. I think it is the clever move there, and it's forced Biff to the outside, and he nearly loses the place that Womack's behind. And what's that done is also it means that Biff can't get quite the run out of 2 and 3 that he wants, as Womack says, I'm here. Am I going to think of a move down the inside? No, he doesn't. And they stay as they were as they went through the start-finish straight. That means a 5th, 6th, Womack 7th. As these three are the main battle on track as it stands. We've got a yellow in sector 1, have we? That's a McLaren round. It might be a Winky, I think.
Yeah, it was Winky. He's dropped a few places.
Yeah. Struggling a little bit. I'm going to go back to Chelsea and Alan at the moment. Alan was one of our drivers to pick up some penalties. Let's have a look at that. Alan's got 3 seconds, Necromancer 3 seconds. So the track limits here can be an issue, not too much. I didn't see too many penalties down the tiers tonight, so people are doing a very good job of keeping the white lines. You see the Alpine think about going on the inside of the Ferrari there. I just think he ran out of road. I don't think that move was ever quite on. He had to back out of it quite late there. The crucial thing he doesn't want to do is lose any more time to the car in front, which is Geke. Matthew and Rishi go side by side. Rishi on the hard, Geke on the softs. Seems to almost let him through there. So those two battling it out as well for 16th and 15th. Just a reminder that no matter where you are on the grid at the moment, every position counts. I think he did have the spin earlier behind Smoggy Ghost. I think he's going to be another one to watch as we go into turn 1, which we'll see a lot of overtakes done here tonight. I think that has to be the main overtaking place on the circuit, doesn't it, Carl? Oh, as he goes into the pits. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, even if you can't get the move into turn 1, it's always a nice way to set up for the run down to 4, because obviously that second DRS zone after turns 1, 2 and 3. So even if you don't get the move made into 1, you can always make sure you get a good exit at 3 and try and pull the move off down into 4.
Yeah, it's all about tactics, isn't it? We saw it in the real life F1, didn't we, with Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen back in 22, where it was sort of mind games as each one sort of played with the DRS, dared the other one to take it, because you may have it down the main straight, but if you lose the position well before turn 1, you can have the DRS in response down to turn 4. I mean, it's a lot of people, if they're clever, just make the place immediately back. And that's how you get these battles that seem to go on for laps and laps and laps. And I think that seems what's going on. It was happening with Backmazo and Biff. Biff seems to have lost a little bit of time, and now he'll have to defend from a very racy Schofield behind.
Oh, Chelsea tried to go down the inside of Allen, but the door was being shut. He bounced across the curves and clipped the Ferrari and ended up going round.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think a little bit more patience there needed. You can make the move there, but why would you when you've got 2 DRS zones ahead? Bit of race shit needed there. On board with Schofield and Schofield and Biff. Biff all over the back. Schofield on the hards, Biff on the mediums, but those tyres seeming pretty evenly matched now. The Alpine goes head to head with the Williams man. The hards looking like the better tyre, at least Schofield looking like the racier driver at the moment.
I think we're finding that the mediums are currently in their graining phase, if I would probably put it.
The medium runners do tend to be the ones suffering there, and I'm still up with Schofield, who's having a look. I think this move feels like it's building the pressure just behind Biff. Every lap seems to be dragging down, and of course now he's out of that DRS range of Womack and Bagnazzo, who he was holding up before. It's going to be such a struggle to keep it. Let's see what Schofield can do as we go into the start-finish straight. That gap at 0.4. If you can be on the gearbox of the car ahead just as he is now, look at that. And I think Biff's gone, you know what, mate, I'll let you have the position. I've had enough of these tyres. And yes, he is into the pits. 11 laps on those mediums. Hards will go 18 laps around here, Carl. Do you think that's a good move from Biff?
Yeah, they'd easily do about 18 laps, easy, as long as you manage them and consistent. But it's all about staying off the marbles more than anything.
It is interesting that clearly you felt the tyres were going around 10 laps. You've got people like Bagnazzo there on the softs, still taking them 10 laps. I wonder how much those soft runners are beginning to suffer, and when you'll start to see them change for the harder tyre. Suffering a little bit under traction, I would say that Womack is the one who's looking a little bit better on those mediums. If you said the mediums were feeling a bit dodgy before, imagine how bad the softs must be feeling as well. Those two seem pretty content to go round and round without a safety car to even up the field. Nikolai Lima and Smoggy Ghost. Nikolai making the move, and we just see the move with the Haas, Speedy Bullet and Smoggy Ghost coming together. He just seemed to go into the back of the AlphaTauri driver ahead of him. Not quite sure what happened there. Both of them going off, but the positions not changed. So Smoggy Ghost still in 15th, Speedy Bullet down to 17th, unfortunately, as he tries to recover. I wonder if he is going to recover, because that car might be beached. If you are beached, Speedy, and you're listening, you can reset to track. We will not disqualify you for anything like that. Make sure you can, because if he remains beached, he might bring out a safety car. Let's see what happens.
Oh, he has heard you. We've just reset to track. He
Excellent.
has heard you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's allowed. We don't want you stuck indefinitely. So, right now, we're getting to the phase of this Grand Prix where the other tiers we've sort of had a couple of safety cars, we've had these trains. Here it looks like almost every driver is just out of that second range. The only ones I can see are Womack, who's 0.5 seconds behind Bagnazzo, and we've got Nikolai Lima, who seems to be slowly hunting down his other Red Bull teammate. He's gone for a different strategy there. He's had to take the early pit stop. Those mediums only 4 laps old, and I think those mediums might struggle to go to the end, so he might be hoping for a safety car. Be very interesting to see who's playing the team game, if they're going to play the team game, or if Geke Matthews is going to say, no, you can have that position, you're on a different strategy to me, you can go up the road and fight. Who's your teammate for you in Tier 2, Carl? Were you two chatting a lot during the race, and do you think strategy plays, do you think the two of you can work together to make a good strategy around a track like this?
Well, I ended up having a standing because my original teammate, as I found out late, couldn't do the Tier 2 time slot anymore. So I had Baby Hornet as a last-minute stand-in. I did share a few messages before the race with him and after. I mean, I'm having to adjust to a completely new driver now, but if people have seen in Discord, I've got a new teammate in the resident Banshee, Gavin Jenkins, so that's going to be an interesting one for me, because I know Gav's relatively good when it comes to his strategies. He tends to enjoy going long. So I'll probably message him in the Discord probably before and work out when he's probably thinking whether he's going to go long or whatnot, so we at least don't trip up in the pit lane whenever we make a stop. So yeah, I'll see how I get on with him as of round 2.
I mean, my advice would be, maybe speak to Gav before the races, but goodness me, you don't want the Banshee screaming in your ears, do you, as you're going around the corners at 150 miles an hour? Make sure it's all settled well before the race. Well, no, good luck with that. He's always come up with a good alternative strategy. I'm on board with RFC Danny, who I thought there was a big gap between him and Johnny Smooth, but the difference between those mediums and hards, I'd say the mediums really starting to grain now, those hards being the better tyre. And he's all over the back of the Aston Martin now. Look at that light flashing on the back there. Is he thinking of a move? Not down into tier 1.
There's a slight touch on the to the gearbox of the Aston Martin when they were braking for the turn. I think it's obviously RSC Danny on the hard tyres, so he can still brake relatively later than Johnny Smooth on the mediums, so obviously just the slightest tap, so they didn't cause each other too much harm.
No, just a little love tap, thankfully nothing that would spin anybody around. Really interesting now, as the strategy starts coming to play, we're seeing more and more people, those medium tyre runners, those soft tyre runners starting to come in and move on to the hards. Interesting to see what happens with these medium tyre runners now, people like Asher, like Johnny Smooth. Let's see if I can bring up the number of stops and see who we've got left to stop. So, the top 5 currently not come into the pits, and Whitey Manu, everybody else apart from Chelsea and Jousty, who's unfortunately ghosted at the moment, does not come into the pit at this stage.
You can definitely tell a move's going to happen at some point, because the difference in grip from the medium and the hard between the two tyres is Necromancer gets another 3 seconds. So if I'm not mistaken, he's on 6 now.
I believe he is. Yes, he's down in 6th, 19th place. So just need to maybe get used to the track a little bit more, make note of those track limits. On board with RFC Danny now. You can see that red light once again on the Aston Martin. But look at that closing speed. He's going to get it done so soon before turn 1. And look, as Johnny Smooth will move to the inside, thinking of taking the position back like another certain Aston Martin did on Monday in Tier 2, but he thinks better of it. And now you'll see, look behind this Mercedes, it won't have the DRS, but Johnny Smooth will. There it is open, and now he's got the opportunity to go up the inside, has he? No, can't quite make up the time difference. And now this is going to be such a crucial middle sector for Johnny Smooth. You've got the move done, you've got the better tyres. Now is when you want to spend a little bit of ERS if you've got to make that gap up to 1 second. Because if you can save yourself an awful lot of trouble for the laps ahead. And look at that, he nearly did it already. He was up to 0.9 there. Johnny Smooth is fighting for his life, but I do wonder if he's going to think about pitting sometime soon. Those mediums, I thought they felt a bit nasty after 12, 13 laps. After 15 laps, I can only imagine how that grip is starting to slip away.
I wouldn't know, because I pitted too early. Winky with 3 seconds now.
Yeah, no, that's a big shame now. I'm just going on board with Scottish Ninja and Teabag. So Scottish Ninja, the highest placed driver at the moment, who has pitted. He's on a fresh pair of hards. Teabag hasn't. He's on 14 lap old ones. And this will be a really good example of difference there is in grip. Scottish Ninja thinking of the move already, thinks better. But you'll see as we go through these fast flowing left-right corners, look at the grip, look at the extra grip that Alfa Romeo has. He's pushing that Aston Martin along. He wants him to get out of the way, but he just can't quite do it. And I think he's going to have such patience now. Is he going to go for the move even before the end of the lap? He's thinking of it. And yes, he is going to do it. I wonder if T-Bag's going to come back. The two of you have to be very careful here. The Alfa Romeo taking an awful lot of curb, but he's able to do it. But look at that. Is it the smart thing to do? Because the Aston Martin will have the better run out of that corner, will have the DRS. And look, He's just taken that position right back. I'm going to go board of Scottish Ninja as well. I think he's so far back he's going to really struggle to get that position back just under DRS. I will stick on board. That flat wide open. It's down to 0.3, but you do have to be up the gearbox if you want any chance into Tier 4. And he's not going to, and unfortunately he's going to have to be patient through this tight, twisty Sector 2. He's just going to lose time. He's going to hemorrhage it. And that brings people like Mazo, who's pitted, like Biff, back into the race. Teabag's just going to be the cork in the bottle here. There's 30 seconds between him and Johnny Smooth. So those top three who haven't pitted yet, they know that when they pit, they're going to come out pretty much exactly where they are. They're not going to lose any space. They're going to remain the top three after the pit stops.
Yeah, and then as we saw earlier, when RSC Danny made the move with the fresher hard tyres, Johnny Smith just pitting now. I was just about to say it was keeping up with him within the DRS 1 second window, but he's decided to pit as well as leader Ashwin has as well.
Yep,
Ashwin's gone hard.
It's gone hard.
So's Johnny Smooth as well.
I think that makes sense. I mean, well, they started. I mean, taking the softs 12 laps. Maybe you could do it, but the hard is probably a slightly better race car around here. As you'll see, Ashwin already out of the lead, Johnny Smooth out there, and Scottish Ninja behind, who has made the move on Teabag. He made it in that middle sector, and that tyre difference through those sweeping corners, if you've got all that grip, he's up into P4 without much of an issue. It'll now be up to him to make up that 7-second gap.
Teabag 3 seconds for track limits.
That's such a shame. Those tyres now really showing their age. We're starting to feel the effects, as we said earlier, have to brake a little earlier. The understeer in this game, you really start to feel it in the wheel. I did, at least on Monday. You know when these tyres are going off. The game is very good at giving you that feedback. If you're understeering that much and going over track limits, it might be time to get a fresh pair of boots on, because there's another driver who wants to get past. But Mazo, I thought he was going to have to make the move there in his centre helmet. He didn't have to. Teabag's tyres are so old, they just gave way for him. So that's Teabag, unfortunately, down into P6. That Mazo in the McLaren up into P5.
I'm just wondering what RSC Danny's thinking at the moment, because he's obviously on the hard tyres out in front. As he's actually pitting, he's pitting now to cover off Ashwin.
Yeah, he is. He's not quite going to... Ashwin has been very, very quick. Like, obviously RSC Danny a tier above some of our drivers tonight, but that doesn't seem to have put him off one bit. Him and Ashwin, I do wonder where Johnny Smooth is going to come out into this situation, as those two are all over the back of each other. Will the overcut work here for RFC Danny, or is it going to be Johnny Smooth?
No, Johnny Smooth's going to get ahead of him.
Yes, he is. Excellent move there. It's going to be a second. And those tyres will be a little colder for RFC Danny, although they're the mediums, so they might warm up a little bit quicker. He's going to want to get on the back of that Aston Martin as quickly as possible. As I've said, you don't want to lose that time up the road. There we go, back to our closest battle that we've got at the moment, and that is, well, Teabag's in the pit, so that's why Sofield went past. It's Biff in the Williams on Womax. He's got the rug. Womax moves slightly to the inside, but he can't defend anymore. Remember, this Bahrain track is where...
He his brake zone and Womax goes back through.
Yeah. It shows that you can have all the luck here. You can have the DRS, you can make the move, but if you don't get your braking point right, then a more experienced driver, a more wily driver will say, thank you very much, I'll take the racing line, and he's through once again. Remember, Biff, those tyres, a little bit older, he will want to stick with Womax, because if he doesn't, it's again going to fall out of that DRS range. I think it was here at Bahrain, was it not, where the famous Alonso line, you always have to leave a space, was done. I think it was Nico Rosberg who almost...
Yeah, I think it was... I believe it's the DRS straight after turn 10, if I'm not mistaken. I think
it might be that one
straight.
Yeah, but it was certainly on there. You can tell it's Bahrain because it's such a wide shot, and yeah, I think it was Nico Rosberg and nearly drives him entirely off the track. I'm going to go on board with RFC Danny, though. This is a fight for the podium positions with the McLaren man going up the inside. He's got the move done. And crucially, it's now a question of who's going to have the DRS. It's going to be the Mercedes man. He timed that to perfection, got his DRS zones entirely right, and that will allow him to defend. And now on those medium tyres, he's past the Aston Martin man. He won't want to battle very much. He'll want to take the race up the road to the AlphaTauri driver in Ashwin, who has been imperious tonight, pole position, and in first place, and hasn't looked very troubled all race long.
No, really stomping his authority on this first race this season.
Yeah, it's what you want to do. You want to sort of come in and say, I'm here, Tier 4, this is my league. It has seemed to be, he is the driver to beat. We'll see if other different tracks are a different kettle of fish, but at the moment, he's the one with all the power. Teabag at the moment, and Alan will resume their hostilities. Teabag now on the mediums, Alan on those 5-lap-old hards. Both of them with time penalties. Let's see what the penalties are at the moment. Teabag with 3, Alan with 6. So, well, Teabag doesn't have to make the move at the moment, but he'll want to.
Ninja's just got 3, just to put that one in.
Oh yeah, that's a shame. He's running 4th as well, so I thought he was going to be one who might want to go up the road and challenge for those podium positions, but he's just made it even harder for himself because he's going to have to find an extra 3 seconds as well. It's going to be very tricky. Go on board with Johnny Smooth, who there's a McLaren
quite a bit of lap traffic there.
Yeah, just having to get out of the way. So I think with the lap traffic, both of them would have had the DRS. So that keeps things.
I believe that was the McLaren of Winky and the Haas of Speedy Bullets.
It was. So yeah, a couple of cars getting laps now. I'm going to stick on board with Teabag and Alan once again. You can see how early he's going to get the move done. Past he goes with the Ferrari. Now it's down to the Ferrari because you'll see them past that white line. That's the DRS zone. So the Aston Martin won't have DRS. Now it'll be up to the Ferrari to see if he can get the move back. All about traction out of this section, seeing if he can get ahead. 0.4 though, I believe, is way too far behind, and yeah, you'll see he'll just have to pick his position, pick his line, and that's now into the points for the Aston Martin man, who will go up the road, and Whitey Manor will be the next man in his sights. And the cat enjoying that move.
A cat?
Yes, she approved of the move. She's an Aston Martin fan. Yes, you are. Really, really big fan there. As gosh, we saw the Ferrari go a little bit deep there. Teabag maybe cutting a little bit at the corner as well. It seemed to be a bit hectic, but although he's got the DRS, that gap is opening up maybe to more than a second. He'll be desperate to keep that second gap, because if he doesn't, I think Teabag is going to be up the road. He's looked very competitive so far. Looking through the field at the moment, we said how we usually get these DRS trains. It looks like a practice session at the moment, doesn't it? Look at all those dots in the bottom right-hand corner, evenly spaced out. Everybody just racing their own races now. Be all about consistency, pace, and making sure that you're just taking tenths out of the guy in front of you, because that's how you're going to make progress there.
Cat agrees.
She does agree. She always agrees. Or always complaining. I've yet to understand. Nikolai Lima, unfortunately, there with a 3-second time penalty. Just starting to creep in more of these drivers. Most of them, unfortunately, out of the top 10, so it might not have finished their time. I think the biggest loser at the moment, or the one who's really going to regret his penalty, is the guy in 4th place, Scottish Ninja. It's not going to affect him yet, because he's only 5 seconds to back Mazo. But I think if the more and more he might catch those drivers up ahead, he's going to say, oh, maybe what could have been, as we are into our last 10 laps of the race, as Ashwin goes ahead across the line, lap 22. 8 laps of this Tier 4 race here left in Bahrain. And boy, it's all sort of, it's settled down. It's getting a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but it's calm, isn't it?
It's very calm, and usually you get that calm before the storm, but I don't think we're going to get the storm in this case.
No, like the race has been very kind to us. We've got, thankfully, all 20 drivers still on track. No DNFs, no safety cars brought out, so it has meant a little bit of a different race compared to our other tiers this week.
The only battle we've really got is Speedy Bullet and Winky down in 16th and 17th. That's the only real battle we've got going off that's within DRS striking distance.
Yeah, and Winky is bringing that time down, isn't it? And I think it's is something to say that even if you're a driver that's not in the points, even if you're not somebody who's fighting for podiums, this is what you really want, isn't it? You want even wheel-to-wheel racing. You want to find the right tier. You want to find drivers at your pace, because it is much more fun, this game, and the laps go by much more quickly when you're doing it wheel-to-wheel rather than just sort of plodding round lap after lap. Like Ashwin's had a wonderful time at Bahrain. If you see Winky, think about it, Winky is off track. He's gone through 2 boards, he's gone through 3 boards there, and he still hasn't made the move, using all of the track available, and maybe some of it that he shouldn't use, and that will affect his tyres quite a bit. I do wonder if he's going to be struggling through those sections in sort of turns, was at 12, 13, 14.
Scottish Ninja's got 6 seconds now. That's really going to hurt him on that in that 4th place, because he's only just got a 6-second gap to back Mazo.
Yeah, and I was just saying there how boring it is if you're doing lap after lap, but now back Mazo's got a target. He says, okay, I've just got to go, a 10th quicker each lap than Scottish Ninja, and I'm up into 4th place. That'll be valuable points for me and my team, so he's got to get a wriggle on, and as I say that, look, that time's gone down to under 6 seconds, so he's got to really push towards the end of this race. Who else have we got? I was on board with Winky. We've also got Chelsea in the Alpine. He's made up time on Alan. Alan was just behind Teabag, but that gap has just stretched out to over 3 seconds now. And the Alpine man will be fighting. Remember, it only takes one switch from the car ahead, and out he goes for the move into T.
There was a slight flick of the M plate there, no damage, but you could just see the M plate wobble as it brushed the Ferrari, as the Ferrari took the race line through that corner. It was a very, very thin brush stroke, and you could see the wing wobble ever so slightly.
Goodness me, it's not the first time he's gone for that move, is it? I think he's tried it once or twice before, and as I said before, I don't think it's the wisest place to do it. Winky again deciding this time I'm going to try and do the move on track. I'm not going to break any boards, but it's not enough, unfortunately. That ERS light flashing at the back of his car. Maybe he just needs to take a few laps, recharge the batteries. Oh no, he's gone straight into the back of the Haas man in front. Seemed to misjudge his braking point a little, and that means that Speedy Bullet is sort of almost depressed on the side there as he's gone back into P17. Smoggy Ghost. Maybe we saw a couple of drivers through, but I think they were quite a way behind. But it is Winky will go into P16.
The Ferrari of Allen got a bit of a twitch on the exit of turn 10, which has opened the door for Chelsea.
He has Chelsea side by side there, and yes, he is through up into P11. Wonder if Alan will want to make the move back. He's looking very twitchy. Look at him squirrel around.
Dear, 3 seconds for that as well.
Yeah, oh gosh, it can happen in this game. You get a little bit ahead of yourself. You're desperate to get on the accelerator a little bit too quick. Those tyres get too hot. And you just need to calm yourself down, make sure that you've got a level head, because otherwise it's going to do you absolutely no favours at all. So has picked up 3 seconds. Is he going to try and make the move as we head down into turn 1?
If I was Alan at this point, obviously he's a bit far back to run to turn 1. Actually, he's gone very deep, very deep. Luckily, there was no contact between the 2 cars. Yeah,
Chelsea almost seemed to see it coming and didn't turn in. And the problem with missing your braking point by that much, not only are his tyres filthy now, they'll feel absolutely rotten. The time he'll lose, that time he was in DRS range, now it's up to 1.6. And sometimes it's just about keeping calm in these situations and making sure that you're ready for the battle ahead. You want to take it to lap 28, 29, because you're always going to have a chance to pass here in Bahrain. I think that's one of the main features of this circuit.
Man who's within striking distance of Schofield, even though he is flashing behind.
He is.
Yellow flag, I think that's a Red Bull round at turn 4.
Yes, it is. Don't know if that's Nicola.
I think that's Geke.
Oh, that's a shame.
Geke.
He struggled on that corner all night, it seems, and it is one of those, particularly if you're running no TC, where, if you apply the throttle before your steering wheel is completely straight, that car will still want to twitch around. The traction control improved in this game, more realistic, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to spin the car. And he's proving that tonight as we're on board with Manu as they head down into turn 1. He's made the move very early there. It looked simple. Schofield, will he want to take that sitting down? Now, he's sort of got the moves. You want to be up the gearbox, and he's going to have ERS. And DRS thinks about it, says I'm there, doesn't go for any sort of move. I think 10-lap-old hards and 9-lap-old mediums, that's an interesting battle because those mediums starting to go off, those hards seem to come into their own by about 10 laps on. They just get through their grading phase early and you're sort of into your groove by then. I know a lot of people were saying that the hard tyre wasn't a very good race tyre, feels awful compared to the others, but a lot of people making them work them tonight.
I think that's Geke round again because Winky's now gone past him on the timing screens. Geke having a nightmare as he's got 10 seconds for exceeding track limits as well. I wonder if that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, no, that's unfair. That's one of those things where you're just sort of trying to get back on track and the game seems to punish you for spinning in the first place. I don't like people being punished twice for the same mistakes, so stick with that. The other battle that's coming in on track, Womax has slowly been making time up on back Meso, and now he's into half a second. He was racing, he was begging for a race tonight, wanted to race before he goes away for quite some time. Now he's trying to make P6 into P5.
Right on the gearbacks of back Meso.
As
you say, because it's such a short run to turn 4, you want to be on that gearbox like you've been saying. Nearly up there, but does he get it? No, he doesn't.
No. The problem with turn 4, you want to be really close, as I kept saying, I know, but that is what you need because it's so short. Is he going to go for the move there? Thinking about it, has to slam on the brakes as it just wasn't quite on with the car in front. Particularly on that corner, if you go for the move and then go for the inside, you're going to lose a lot of traction and a lot of straight line speed coming out of it as you go into 5, 6 and 7. So you almost have to make sure that you're significantly alongside enough that you can sort of legally push the car on the outside as far outside as possible to make sure you're the one with the better run. It is very tricky, but not impossible at all. Womax will have to, he's going to have a couple more sniffs here as we get on to lap 27. 3 laps remaining. He will have a couple of opportunities, but he doesn't want to make the big mistake that's going to cost either of them like a bit of carbon fibre or a spin, because both of them have excellent races tonight. Let's keep it nice and clean.
Yeah, they're coming up to the second McLaren of Winky, who's obviously a lap down, so obviously, hopefully, Winky doesn't impede or anything and just gets out the way of both drivers. I know he's ghosted, but would be nice if he moves out the way.
I do wonder if that means that back Meso, just because of that traffic, is he going to get the DRS? Yes, he does. So that's sort of 1 lap for Womax where he goes. Just unfortunate with the blue flags for him.
Probably a bit of teamwork there from Winky to allow his teammate to get the DRS to defend from the car behind.
Yeah, it's smart if you can get it done, as long as you're not impeding any other cars and get out the way. It's completely within the rules if you want to try and give your teammate that boost, but he can only do it for 1 lap. It might have saved him for this one. He's still going to have 2 laps to defend this very racy looking Haas behind. Other drivers as well. Talking about Manu and Schofield, I thought Manu might escape up the road, but Schofield's still in this, less than half a second. The Alpine man will want to try and get as many points as he can in this top 10.
Obviously, Manu starting at the back, because I did notice in the YouTube chat that he had a qualifying ban, so that's why he didn't qualify and why he retired early. So from starting P20 to be sat in P8, he's had a very solid drive, obviously keeping out of trouble and just minding his own business. So he's done well for himself in the first race of the season so far.
He has excellent performance from the Alfa Romeo man. Can he make it even better by defending this all the lap? He will have 2 laps to try and defend P8, and it's going to be a tricky 2 laps of back Meso. I'm going to on board with Womax here, because he's got a very good exit now. It's all about, do you spend your ERS there? Back Meso seemed to go for the move to block on the inside, then move to the out. We don't want to see too much weaving. It looked as if Womax had to make a couple of different moves. Would you want to make the move on lap 28, or are you that kind of guy who says, no, I'm going to wait until lap 29, take the one overtaking opportunity that I can, and then know that they can't get me for the rest of the lap?
I'll probably take that option, but it's such a gamble because obviously, if you don't get the run into 1, yes, you got the run to 4, but if you don't get the run out of 3, then obviously you're having to wait until the next DRS zone out of turn 10, and then obviously if you don't make it out of that, it's literally you just got to sit there behind the car in front and think, I've just missed my opportunity. Oh dear.
Correct. I mean, I had it in Tier 2 with Gav, where I thought, no, I'm going to leave it to the last lap. And Gav was so clever, he managed to brake just before the DRS detection, so I passed him into turn 1. But for like the briefest of seconds, because he passed me back. Obviously, Womax and Backmazo, maybe a late move there for Backmazo to defend, but Womax is able to make it through. Now remember, this means that Backmazo will have one more opportunity. He's going to get the run of DRS, and he'll see that car in front, the lights flashing. But he just doesn't seem to have the traction out of turns 2 and 3. And that gap, if anything, is increasing. So it looks like all that defence at last lap has come to absolutely nothing. Backmazo will fall back into P6. Whitey Manu and Biff going for it. I think Biff might have made the move, but Whitey Manu's making it back. He's running very wide, and Biff has to sort of readjust his traction. Said it would go all the way down to the wire with these two. Looks like it has. Whitey Manu up into 7th, Biff into 8th.
So that's another place for Manu from his starting place. That's 13 places, if my maths is correct.
Yeah, excellent drive, very good recovery. Sometimes you just got to get what's taken with you. And I'm very sorry, we're facing the battles at the back. Ashwin has gone across the line in P1. RFC Danny is in P2. Johnny Smooth, other driver there, he's celebrating. Got plenty of time to go to cross line in P3. Scottish Ninja with, what was it, how much penalties has he got?
6 seconds, and I think he's going to hold on from Womax behind.
Should do, yeah, 6 seconds of penalty. Womax across the line, and yep, you're right, it's not going to be enough. He finishes in P5. But Mazo P6. Whitey Manu will go across the line anytime now. As him and Biff, I don't think they're going to be battling all the way to the line. There he is, wiggling into light there. P7 and P8. Schofield across in P9. Teabag, P6 at the moment, but he's picked up 6 seconds of penalties. So it's Chelsea who might be the one who's able to salvage something for the Alpine team. Teabag across the line in 10th, but it's not going to last as Chelsea will pick him on penalties up into P10. Then we've got the Ferrari of Alain in P12. And the other drivers all finishing, so they must have been a lap down. That goes to show how quick our race winner was today. An excellent race from him, from the AlphaTauri man, as Jousty comes across in 19th, and it's going to be the last Ferrari on the grid. It'll be Necromancer in P20, as I get a trophy for being a spectator for the first time in this game. So, in a way, everybody's won. I think that's fair to say. So, let's take you through driver of the day. It says Whitey Manor on the screen, as you mentioned, up from P20 into P7. Excellent drive. Have you got anybody else that you'd nominate for your driver of the day, Carl, or are you happy with the game's choice?
I agree with the game, but as well, it's such a dominant drive from Ashwin. Qualified on pole, lights to flag, comfortable as you like.
Fastest lap as well, I checked.
And fastest lap to boot as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty... Sorry, go ahead.
Pretty difficult to pick from the pair of them. Do you go for the dominant, consistent drive from our race winner, or do you go from the positions gained by Manu?
Well, I'm gonna give it to the Frenchman today, our race winner, because it's not very often that you get the chance to get a perfect race like that. And hey, it might be the first time he gets it, maybe the only time he gets it in T4 if he carries on driving like that, because I think we could have a future Tier 3 or Tier 2 driver with the kind of pace that he showed tonight. But for the moment, let's take you through the final grid. So we've got Ashwin, P1, RFC Danny, P2, Johnny Smooth, P3, Scottish Ninja, 4, Womax, 5th, Backmazo, 6th, Whitey Manu, 7th, Biff in 8th, Schofield, 9th, Chelsea in 10th, Teabag in the Aston Martin in 11th, there's Alain in the Ferrari, Nikolai Lima, 13th, Smoggy Ghost, 14th, Speedy Bullet, 15th, a lap down, unfortunately, Winky, 16th, Geke Matthew, Richie Jousty, and then finally bring at the rear of the field, it's Necromancer in the Ferrari. Good, well, no safety cars, clean race, excellent to see that when we compared it to the other drivers. I'm really looking forward to see what happens with the rest of the season for the rest of the Tier 4 men this year. Remember to tune in, everyone, on Friday. That's the end of Bahrain for the moment, but we will go round the tight, twisty circuit of Saudi Arabia for one of the fastest street race circuits on the calendar. That will be live on Friday with MRCX. Don't miss it. We'll see you all there. And thank you very much, Carl, for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure as always.
Pleasure was mine.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Take care and enjoy. See ya. Bye.
Bye.